Welcome to Financial Clarity, the podcast dedicated to helping service-based small business owners achieve financial success. Join us as we demystify financial concepts, get practical tips from seasoned entrepreneurs, and discover strategies to increase profit and value. Hannah Smolinski here. I'm the host of the Financial Clarity podcast, where I connect successful entrepreneurs, financial experts, and leaders in the small business community. Past guests include Monica Martinez, the co-founder of a consulting firm that helps nonprofits and public sector clients develop successful strategies for making education more equitable and accessible, and Laura Scheel, one of our very own CFOs here at Clara CFO, who has leveraged her experience in Big Four accounting and working for a Fortune 500 company to create a financial planning framework for our CFO clients. So if either of those episodes sound interesting to you, please go and check those out on your favorite podcast app. Today's episode is brought to you by my company, Clara CFO Group. Clara CFO is dedicated to providing financial clarity and profit maximizing solutions to small businesses. The team at Clara CFO are seasoned accounting professionals with a heart for small business. We help growth-minded entrepreneurs thrive through fractional CFO services and financial education. To learn more about Clara CFO Group and how we can help your business, visit claracfo.com. You can also email me directly at hannah@claracfo.com. So I was actually introduced to today's guest by Nikki Rausch of Sales Maven. You may have heard Nikki's name because she was a guest on our podcast. She was one of the first episodes. So she is all about teaching people how to sell without selling your soul. Very, very important and kind of good thing to know, good skills to learn there. So if you want to learn more about Nikki and her business, you can go and check out that episode back in the Financial Clarity podcast, but you can also find her at yoursalesmaven.com. So today's guest is Samantha Irwin. Hi, Samantha.
Hello.
Samantha has over 25 years of experience in leading people. She has a master's of arts in education, where she taught middle school for quite a while and restored and transformed an empty historic boutique hotel into a destination space for travel and weddings. She is the creator of the Power of People Academy, which is an online training platform, and creating a culture deck, which is a physical product, which I'm very excited to learn about. Both the Power of People Academy and creating a culture deck support leaders with educating and empowering their frontline staff to deliver consistently excellent customer service experiences. Business owners hire her for personal consulting, and she speaks regularly at conferences. Samantha, thank you so much for being on the Financial Clarity podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here and delighted to meet you.
Well, I am very excited because we have never had anybody on the show yet talk about customer service. And we talk to service-based businesses all the time. Service-based businesses are like our bread and butter and who like we tend to serve. And it's a hugely important topic. And I have never studied it, but I know it's important. But I would like to know first from you, tell us more about your history of going through teaching and then doing this hotel thing.
Hotel thing.
And then now you're an expert in customer service. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about your history and where you got to where you are today.
You betcha. Thank you for the description of expert. I don't know if I'd put myself in there, but I would be happy to share.
We got to stand up for like our experiences. If people are asking you to speak about this, you're an expert. So
okay,
there you go.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. So let's see. I'll try to give you the Cliff's Notes version. There's a through line of crazy through my life, I think, because yes, I did teach middle school and loved it. In the same sentence, I said middle school and love. Yes, you heard that right. That was so much fun. It did prime me for understanding how people learn. Kids and adults learn the same. And it was great experience for making sure I could gather a group of people. At that point, it was students, and give them a common vision, set a culture in our classroom that was safe, that was risk-taking, that was had a high expectations. It really laid the foundation for a lot of the things that I do now and that I did after teaching. So, and I loved it. But I didn't obviously retire teaching. After teaching for about 13 years, I was looking for something to do that was a little bit more on the business landscape because I've always loved business and dabbled part-time. And it was about 2 years of searching and praying and going, what are my skills? What's the open door? Blah, blah, blah. Ended up walking into the back door of the then empty building. It was 21 room, 3-story brick building built in 1907. I didn't remember that my husband was there because I was so taken aback.
Uh-huh.
We apparently met Howard Green in the back, like the parking lot. And we walked in the back door and I always want to call him Mr. Green, but because his age and just his stature, and he reminded me of my dad. Walked in the back door of this boutique hotel and I immediately fell in love. My heart just soared and I felt like a roller coaster kind of lifting up because I could see the vision right away. It was nothing short of just like a download of miracle. It was amazing. And I paused and I took a deep breath and threw up a silent Hail Mary prayer. And I'm like, if this is it, open the doors. And man, they opened fast. So
Wow.
the story was Howard and Pat Green had purchased this building kind of in an act of love because it needed some restoration and some TLC. It had been, like I said, it was built in 1907 and it had been like a hotel and then it had been a boarding house and it had been a private residence and it was in various stages of needing some love. And so they were out. This is in a rural town as well, very rural. And they spent a long time, many years, finding old antiques and doing a lot of structural work because he was very successful construction person in Portland. Very successful. So where there was no private baths, they were all at the end of the hall. They put in private baths and repointed the brick and the roof and a whole bunch of other things. So after their love affair, they had a stint where they had it open part-time for here and there and some events. They're kind of ready to just be retired. They had an auction, sold off all the furniture, but not the hotel. So they had an empty building. And that's when Jeff and I walked in that spring of, I think it was 2006 or 5, something like that. And there began my love affair with the hotel and restoration. So it hadn't been open since the 40s consistently as a hotel. And this is early 2006. It was in a town, population 600 at the time. I know, right? Little crazy theme. And 2 hours from our ideal client or our ideal guest. So there was not a draw. Like, it's not like you would go there and there's Crater Lake. No, it's farmland and it's for unplugging. So that's where I dove full time into business and then quickly realized and had to figure out how to grow a team and lead a team of adults so that I didn't have to be the butcher, baker, candlestick maker and do all the things. It was too much from the get-go. So after, it was 11 months of restoration, we finally opened and we had a wedding. And literally at 10 o'clock the night before the wedding, we're pulling with the lights of the truck from the guy who was helping us with the landscape. We've got the lights on this back of the pond and we're pulling stuff off and pulling our shovels and things out because the wedding was the next day. It was exhausting, but very fun. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into the hotel and did a lot of cosmetic restoration. So I went from teaching to stripping woodwork. Woodwork. And as a result of 11 months of restoration and stripping a crap ton of woodwork, furnishing the whole place, landscaping, I didn't have squat for marketing budget. It was gone. It was eaten up in sandpaper. So I had to get a little creative. I had some great people assisting with some press releases and things. I've got a lot of people to thank. And then as I grew the team, I came to understand the importance of really identifying your ideal client and then serving them extremely well. So extremely well, because most businesses that hire me or when I speak, the pain points are the same. It's employee turnover, employee apathy, workplace happiness, customer churn, right? And when we can reduce those things, then it makes an owner or leader's life a lot less stressful. I never promise that I can reduce employee turnover, or excuse me, that I can eliminate employee turnover, but we can definitely reduce it. The customer and the employee are definitely intertwined.
Mm,
So, and we can talk about that a little bit more later, but there you go.
yeah.
And I sold the hotel, and now people ask me to consult with them to my first consulting gig. I was asked to help develop a wedding venue, and then now, help restaurants and speak and have things to support small businesses, because that's what I was. And you freaking have to create everything. You don't
Yes.
get training from corporate or anything like that. So I'm here to fill that need of training the people to be amazing, so
Mhm.
that you don't have so much churn and make a positive difference. So
Yeah.
financially and just in the world. So there you go.
Was it really the hotel that gave you those experiences for, how to create an amazing customer experience? Or did that even start when you were teaching middle school?
They definitely build on one another
Mhm.
for certain. For certain, because leading a team of people is key and integral to creating a consistently great customer experience. So yeah, I guess they build on each other. But
Yeah.
I mean, the rubber met the road, I guess. Rubber meets the road, that phrase. That definitely was true in owning the hotel. I made a lot of mistakes with hiring and training, and then had a lot of successes. And yeah, so, but that key, and we did have a few guests at the hotel that were not our ideal guests. And we learned quickly how to filter that out, because it definitely does not work so well. We had no TV, elevator, pets or kids. It was a disconnect place. It wasn't like a party. Anyway, that's a story for another day, but but it makes my staff happier when they understand how much influence and impact they had with the customer. They give more ownership. It helps them to be more satisfied in their job. They're more loyal. It's a fabulous, fabulous wheel of love, life, whatever you want to call circle of life.
So I would like to know, like, well, how do you define a customer experience?
Ooh, that's a fabulous question. Um, the visual, have you ever looked up customer journey mapping?
That is ringing bells, but I cannot say I know what that looks like.
Okay.
I've heard
No,
of it talked about, but I don't know if I've seen any visuals around it.
okay. No worries about it. I didn't either when I owned the hotel. I was too busy doing the work.
Yeah.
But afterwards, I'm like, oh, I get it. That's what we were doing. So a customer journey map, you can just Google and you get bazillions of them. So um, typically when you get a visual on Google, it's looks like a path, like an in and out path. You have the first section is like consideration, where people are checking you out. Basically, they're looking at your online reviews, seeing what you offer, and then it moves the customer through the whole process, like consideration. And then if you have a physical shop, it's the experience that they're having at the physical shop and with the product, and then with your people, and then um, to that awareness and advocacy stage when they are done, to try to get them back if they're your right person. So customer journey mapping typically is linear in nature when you look at the picture, which is wrong.
Mm.
100%. I made a customer journey map that is a circle. It's like a Ferris wheel. And when I speak, I talk specifically about why it's intentionally a circle. Because when you find those correct people, the people that fit you, that love you and you love them, you want them to come back.
Yeah.
So all along, like if you think of a Ferris wheel, and it has six, let's just put six buckets or whatever those are called that you sit in. One of those called Ferris wheel buckets.
Buckets works for me.
Buckets. You have six buckets. The person comes and they get in, and then they move around, and that's their journey in your business. So each at each bucket, right? They call it, because if you look at the entirety and you want to curate the experience for your customers on every step of the journey, particularly if they're your ideal client, because it costs 6 to 7 times more money to acquire a customer than to keep it. There's my money talking there.
Mm-hmm.
So at each one of these buckets, to break it down, they call that a touch point. So at each touch point, like it's online or it's in the shop or it's with the people or via email or afterwards or with a product, each of those touch points, your customer or your guest or your member, if it's a club, they're having an experience, whether or not you curate that experience.
Mm.
Okay. And so it's important to notice and then curate the experience so that the people are having the experience that we want them to have, that we're helping them to see, feel, understand, know, and do the things we want them to experience in the entirety of their entire journey. So that's like, I think that answers your question. So if you think about the map, the journey map, the little buckets, each touch point, they're having an experience with your business. And it makes a lot of financial sense to curate that experience.
Yeah. That's incredibly insightful to just note they're having an experience one way or another.
Yeah.
It's, are you intentional about designing what that experience is? Because I recently had that happen with a client who like just wasn't getting the information that we were trying to deliver, but they weren't receiving it in a way that we were hoping that they would. And it made us like do some, some looking at, okay, well, what did we miss there? Like there was some kind of some points that we missed. And so it left them feeling confused and unprepared. And that was not what we had intended. And we were trying to have that not be the experience. But it was, this person needed a little bit of a different delivery.
Mm-hmm.
So that was it. That's interesting because I don't know if people are thinking about every single one of those stages. They might be thinking about one or maybe another one, but maybe like what are all those touch points? Yes. That's really good. I'm noodling on that at the moment, but I know. So with that, what are kind of some of those, are there kind of standard points in the customer journey? You were saying that there's like where they're the consideration stage. Mm-hmm. Are there like very standard ones, or is that going to be different depending on the industry or the type of business that it is?
Customer journey mapping and the like curating the customer experience. If you were to look at customer journey mapping, and I'm going to pull up the one I have so I can just walk you through it. They can be from simple to very complex. And since I support small business owners, I really like, let's just do the simple. Like
I'm a huge proponent of simplicity. Let's keep it simple. Like always.
Yes. So like you have big businesses that spend a lot of money and they've spent a lot of money in research and they do specific things based on that research. I love to read business books and watch things about big businesses and how and why they do stuff, and then translate that to like us, small businesses, like our mom and pop stores and our, small to medium businesses. For example, like if McDonald's, finish the sentence. Oh, thank you for your order. Would you like blank with that? Fries. Pretty much everybody knows. So would you like fries with that? There's a specific reason why they train their people to do that. So that part of the customer journey is specifically around the interaction with people and how people influence buying decisions. So the one that I have, I named it a little bit of a cheeky because it's my personality. So where the consideration stage, which is the serious kind of step one in your customer journey mapping, it's like the marketing. You're spending a lot of money marketing and you're out there on social media and blah, blah, blah. I call it out there, the out there stage. So, and then number 2 for me in my map that I created, it's called on the way. And that has to do with signage. If it's a physical location, how easy is it for people to find you and see you and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. In the entrance and lot. Like, let me use the hotel. Okay. So I'll give you a concrete example using the hotel. I could pick on a coffee shop, but I'll use our own that stuff. Because we were in Podunk, Mayberry. Like we were out of the way. So the out there, like I said, that's that online social presence, all of that stuff. On the way is how well is it that, how easy it is it for people to find us? So because we were in a rural place, it wasn't, and this was the day before too many Google Map things could just tell you how to get there. We made sure that we curated people's experience on the way.
Mm.
We were located in a tiny town that literally the streets rolled up. It was a farming community. There was one grocery store that was open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And at the beginning, we did not have dinner options because, we're growing step by step. We did breakfast. So I had to think about curating the customer experience from tip to tail. So I know, let's say we were an hour and 40 minutes from Portland, and that's where one of our guests is coming from. So while my staff is on the phone, we're asking them questions, and then we're curating their on the way stay because we know they might, we're asking questions. Are they interested in waterfalls or whatever? We'd give them stops along the way. And then we partnered with a place in a town that had a really nice restaurant that would serve our customers well. And that was where we usually sent them for dinner. And then they came up to the hotel. So curating that experience. And then the entrance or lot, that's the third one in my map. So out there on the way, the entrance and lot, people are driving. Is it easy? Was it easy to know where to park? Do we have lots of weeds in the parking lot? Is our fence crappy? What is it? It's giving them an impression and setting up an expectation, even if it's subconscious. And along the sidewalk, right? They had to walk in the sidewalk and then up the steps. And I made sure, a lot of hotels, you have your lights up and you get little cobwebs and stuff. I see this all the time when I go into small businesses. I'm like, oh my God, this door looks disgusting, or it's sticky, or ugh, or there's creepy spider webs as I'm coming in. Is that telling me that the food's clean and all the stuff is great in the kitchen? I don't know. So that was part of that entrance lot. Number 4 step for me in my map is with the people. That is the most powerful and influential step in the customer journey. Because like you and I talked about before, and you had said this before we started recording about how people feel they're being treated. So 70% of buying experiences are based on how people are feeling they're being treated.
Yeah.
And that's definitely, it's not with the product. Like it's not with how soft my beds were or how great the coffee is. It's about the interaction with people. Because if you go into a coffee shop and you have a crappy cup of coffee, but a great experience with a new person, you'll forgive them and come back. But if you have a great cup of coffee and the person's a jerk,
yeah,
you're not going to bring your boss there or your colleague or somebody you want to impress. So that's number 4 is with the people. Number 5 is with the products. So for us, our product was the hotel, the beds, blah, blah, blah. I want consistency with that. Number 6 is I call the dating game for a specific reason, because when we have that, like these are the things that I love. Oh, we're on video. I have to remember. Or we're on audio, not video. I do this when I'm speaking.
Unless people want to watch us on YouTube, you can hop over to YouTube.
That's right. That's right. So when you find your ideal customer and or client or guest or member, you want them to come back because we spend a lot of money getting them, and it makes sense to keep them. There's some great statistics, which I can't pull off the top of my head. I could look them up though for you, that have to do with the probability of selling to an existing customer versus a new one. Oh, I think I know it. I think it's, I better check this, but I believe that the probability, nope, I'm going to look it up so I don't get it wrong, because you're a financial person. So I need to have my numbers right. But that dating game is the very top of that Ferris wheel, number 6 to number 1. Connecting that and getting that person to come back is worth so much money.
Yes.
Like we had people come back 10 times
Wow.
in 3 years.
Wow.
To a place that didn't have, they were coming for the experience,
Yeah.
right? That's valuable money. And if, let's say I'm your ideal client and I'm coming in, I have the same types of characteristics and values and spend my money in the same types of ways as a lot of my colleagues and friends. So I have friends that are very similar to me. And it makes a lot of sense if if I'm your ideal client, instead of trying to just spend a lot of money marketing towards all of my friends and family, access them through me.
Right.
Yeah. So there you go.
Make one person
Yeah.
so happy that they become your marketing team in
Exactly.
ways. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't tell you like how many times I've been to a business and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so amazing. And I just want to tell people about it. And I'm like, nobody's giving me anything for telling people
Right.
about it, but I was just so happy, or like the meal was so good, or it was just like such a lovely experience to be there, that you just naturally that happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also the opposite. If you have a really awful experience, I was just on Facebook and on a mom's group that somebody was just blasting a cabinet, somebody installing cabinets, and they're like
Oof.
just told, 2 to 3,000 people in the area to never use that vendor. So,
Ouch. Ouch. Yeah. I'm not very good at memorizing statistics and telling you this. That's why I have it in the course, and then I have it on the or the creating a culture deck. But it is powerful. And so many more people, I think it's like, oh, I don't have it memorized. I should have my little cliff notes on this. I'll just I'm
well,
gonna go
I didn't
through this
tell
and find them.
you. Yeah, I didn't tell you we were going to need to have that memorized. This is what
But
it's
it
called,
is,
like organic conversation over here.
that's true. We're off the fly. We're off the cuff. Off the fly. I think I put on the fly and off the cuff together there just now.
It's all good. Just some mixed metaphors.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think a lot of businesses don't think about investing in their customer service,
Hmm.
or at least don't make it a process
Hmm.
that is repeatable. And maybe they're hoping to hire people who just naturally have maybe some good customer service
Uh-huh.
skills.
Uh-huh.
So how can they change that and move it to, okay, you've got people, let's standardize our experience. What do they need to be thinking about?
I think that's the most excellent question. Because it's something I've pondered a lot. So when I'm training, I use something like this. Like I just pull up some paper or a notebook or something, because typically business owners are very, very excited about the thing they provide, their product or their service or their whatever. And they have training manuals, like a book, that teach their staff how to do the things consistently in the same way. Customers want consistency in two areas: product or service and experience. So I've yet to meet a business owner in any of the talks that I've done that says, when I say, "Hey, how many of you are excited to train people how to interact with people, so you started a business?" Like, no, no one ever. Nobody ever. No. People are hard. People start businesses because they're passionate about their product or their service or the impact they can have. We need the people in order to make that mission happen. So I believe that a lot of the times, or most of the time, leaders don't, it's hard. And so you do what you're good at, typically, which is creating a consistent cup of coffee, or the marketing, or the things that are beautiful and sexy and whatever. The people stuff is harder.
Mhm.
It's really hard. But when you have, there's one of the rules that I teach that I learned a long time ago from Michael Hyatt. And then I applied it, and I learned in a bad way I made the mistake in my own business. When hiring for people who interact face to face with customers, you hire personality, then you train the skill.
Mhm.
Don't do it the other way around.
Yeah.
Hire personality, train skill. You cannot train personality.
Yeah.
And I can teach people, well, we can talk about it right now. Like the next question is, well, how do you recognize that personality? How do you know who has the gift of hospitality naturally, and then build upon their hospitable skills with some specific things? Um, when you go to the grocery store, do you have like checkers in a line, or do you self-checkout?
Me?
Yeah,
I do both.
do both.
I
Okay.
go to whichever is shorter.
Which is shorter.
I'm
Okay.
an efficiency person.
An efficiency person. Perfect. When you go to do you drink coffee, or do you go to particularly a favorite
I
restaurant or
drink a
coffee shop?
lot of coffee, decaf now, but I drink a
Okay.
lot of coffee.
Okay. Okay. My guess is that when, or maybe the next time you go in, this will raise your awareness that whether you're going to a restaurant, a coffee shop, or your grocery store, that there are specific lines of when a checker or a person is there that you gravitate towards or you want to go there. And there's specific ones you prefer not to have
Mm,
go through their lines. Those lines when you're going into a business and you're excited and you notice, oh, that person's here, I'm excited. That person most likely has the gift of hospitality.
mm,
They're the people that you just gravitate towards. Okay. So if you're next time you're in a coffee shop, if you sit down and you kind of just watch the people, you can see it. I can see it when people walk in the door and they interact with people. I can see it who has it naturally as a customer, and I can see it who has it naturally as an employee.
mm.
So they just have the gift of hospitality. There's those people that make you feel like you just are glad you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I recently was chatting with somebody. Uh, we went through a Chick-fil-A drive-through.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A is like, classic,
Yeah.
probably example of like training people to be consistent. But I was like, man, there's no way they're hiring all these people that are so cheery all the time. Like they just can't possibly be that cheery. But then I was thinking, well, maybe they are strategically taking, maybe they have their hiring practices. I was like, maybe they take the cheeriest people and put them up at the window. Or maybe
Mhm.
like they're the ones that are maybe in the, taking the order or whatever. Because I'm
Mhm.
like, there's just no way there's that many, especially like very young people that they hire
Yes.
that are just so hospitable and cheery like that. They might be doing other things in the back. But I was thinking about that recently. But
Oh.
I think they are hiring for personality for sure, but then they have very consistent training for
Yes.
how they speak to customers,
Yep.
even just the responses, and you have a very consistent experience going
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I
But
love that. And that's where small businesses can take note and
yeah,
learn and create and that's, one of the things that I have as just to put in their pocket, like a business owner leader's pocket is like, I've got the training and the support tools to do that very thing because it is hard. I mean, they're a big corporation that has created and refined and figured it out. And you're right, it is important. And I bet you're right. They do hire personality, but you have to train those certain things on that personality. It's like if I am, well, hospitality is a gift. You're naturally
yeah,
hospitable. Would like you might be naturally inclined to be artistic
mm,
or good with numbers, like you. If you don't develop those gifts, they stagnate. Hospitality is just like that. You have to continue. It's a thing that you can continue to develop to refine and make it better,
mm.
just like your skills as an accountant.
I think that hospitality is I've been seeing this concept of hospitality skills being used in service-based businesses, like even B2B.
Mhm.
Because I think y- when you are, I guess, executing in a hospitality gifting or like strength, you are thinking about what is the other person experiencing, and you're trying to make them feel comfortable. I
Yeah.
think that's another thing is comfort with
Yeah.
that. So I do think about that with service-based businesses. And I mean, I want my clients to feel comfortable. We're talking about
Yeah.
very sensitive stuff sometimes, like,
Yeah.
their personal finances or, the fact that they don't have any money in their business, or the
Yeah.
fact that the thing that they wanted to sell is not selling and it's like, a struggle, or the investment that they made is not turning out, or they've lost, some money in some ways. So like I want them to feel as comfortable as possible in those conversations. So um I don't know where I'm going with that, but I'm just seeing the tie.
Yeah. I'm thinking you had said something earlier, and I'm thinking your clients are lucky to have you. Like you said earlier about iterating when someone was having an experience that was like not quite what you wanted. And I thought right away, oh my gosh, that's a mark of a great business leader, somebody who's continually improving and refining and making it better for their clients and their staff and their team. And yeah, I was like, oh, I better give her some kudos because
Thank you.
that's great. And you're right. I think it is creating a culture. Hospitality is a culture. It's at its core, I believe it's a value of, or a culture of valuing people,
Yeah.
just at the very base,
I
valuing others.
And that is, at the end of the day, we do a lot of B2B. There's come business to business. That's what it means. But businesses are made up of people.
Yeah.
And so we need to remember that at the end of the day, one person is probably interacting with one person. And that is an experience that you can control and you can curate, is what I'm hearing. So I do like that.
It's so much fun to curate customer experience. I'm kind of a geek on it, but I do strategy sessions. I just did one last week with an independent business owner. She's got a mobile coffee shop, and it was such a blast to go through. And there were so many aha moments. Like, you've got a captive audience right here. And what do you want them to see and feel and do? And it was just so fun. I have a blast doing it.
Do you specialize more in like the physical experience, or do you also have like a digital experience or do you see it as being both?
They're both. I think they're both. Is my interest the digital? Not so much. Is my interest your financials? Not so much. That's why I partner with people like you.
Yeah.
But my interest is in the power of people.
Yeah.
The power people have. Yeah.
I love that. Okay. And this is really like opening up my mind for a lot of things, and I'm going to be noodling on it for quite a while.
Right.
But I want to ask you some questions specifically about your business, because are you a solopreneur, or do you have a team? Like, how have you grown your business to where it is now?
Yeah, I am a solopreneur. I have contractors that help me like with the marketing part and some other things. I'm not a designer, so I definitely have some people that I pull in to help with that. And whether it's partnering with people, or I have lots of books I read, and hanging out with people who I want to be like or learn from, like Nikki, who has basic core values very much like mine, with her just being naturally curious. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah. No, I think that's great, because I think there's lots of different ways to have successful service businesses. And so one thing I noticed too is that so it sounds like you do speaking, and then you do one-on-one consulting, or you'll do consulting directly with businesses, or not necessarily individuals, right? I mean, if you're serving businesses, but they're individuals at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then you've started this academy. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. I also do workshops like, I love teaching workshops with staff. And so, the two other
teacher, remember everybody, she's a teacher at heart.
It's the truth. So Power of People Academy, and then the Creating a Culture deck. The Power of People Academy is an on-demand training platform that teaches those skills that people need to interact. So my thing is no more sucky customer service. It drives me bananas when I go in somewhere and I'm interacting with a customer service person, and I think, you don't know your value.
My course.
You don't know your value.
Yeah.
I don't care how old or young they are. When staff understand how important they are to the financial success of the business and to the trajectory of the person's day, and they are the through line, when they understand that, that's a foundation for them showing up, not being on their phone, not just dinking around with their coworkers, but focusing on the customer. And then we build on those skills. Like, okay, now that you get it, this might be a placeholder job, or it might be your dream job. It doesn't matter. You're important to either way. And you have an incredible amount of impact and influence. And when I get people to understand that in the academy, through the video teaching, then we start building on the skills. Like, okay, now you get it. Hopefully you're on board.
Mm-hmm.
What do you specifically do to make people feel welcomed? And then what do you specifically do to help your customers, your members, your guests know about the other things in your place of business? Like it's called sales versus service is one of the modules.
Mm-hmm.
First impressions is one of the modules. And one of my favorite modules, first impressions is, and also congratulations, you screwed up is another favorite one because people need to know how to fix mistakes. They'll
Yeah.
make them.
Yeah.
Or like if you're my customer and I screwed up, you might come to me and you're ticked off because of something I did. I need to know how to fix it so that I don't give it to my manager when they come back on Monday. That's no fun, right? Or could be that my coworker Tom messed up and you're the customer and I happen to be here that day. And so I get to fix Tom's mistake, right? Or this happens a lot now. Nobody here made any mistakes. You're just a grouch.
Yeah.
Come in and you're a grouch to me. So I need to have the skills. How do I turn the situation around? So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
That's really good. And just that, I mean, that academy, is that business owners having their employees take it? Or what are you seeing like people actually leveraging and using that information?
Yeah, yeah, that's a subscription, a monthly subscription that they can take and train their staff. And yes,
Great.
definitely have employees doing that. The idea, people can use it however they want,
Yeah.
is to have it be part of the onboarding process.
Yes. Okay.
Because when you're onboarding an employee, you're told typically, I find people are focused on training the tasks because that's what they're good at. That's what they're passionate about, their thing, their product or service. And when we focus on that as leaders, that's what we're translating, telling our staff, this is the most important part of your job.
Mm,
When in fact, it's not,
yeah.
because you definitely want to have that consistent product experience or service experience, but they need to have those people skills as well. So it's intended for staff to use, but definitely I would never want staff alone to take it. That leaders need to take it as well. So they have it creates a common way of just operating as a business and as a service business. And then it's very fun. It's a very fun for me to see people's responses and their reactions and students who I've gifted it to and because they're amazing. And then their coworkers haven't taken it and they're like, oh, I wish I'm fixing their mistakes. And I wish they'd take it. So we had the common language. And
Mhm.
I mean, I've had chamber people take it that work for chambers because they understand the power of, what they're providing as well. Yeah. So it is for employees, frontline staff.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then you also have developed a physical product, which not a lot of service-based businesses dabble into physical products. So what kind of sparked that, uh,
Ah,
going into that?
you're such good questions. I'm gonna get the cobwebs off. How did I come up with that? Um, I came up with it because I saw a need so when leaders are rewarding their employees, typically, it's at the pizza party or all a staff meeting or something like that. And because we're focused on our product or service or our things, oftentimes staff meetings are all about, oh, this is what we need to fix or recycle that, or here's where our new process is for X, Y, and Z. When I've worked with businesses, that's typically how their staff meetings are run. They might do a little some kudos birthday things and stuff like that. But service is hard. Service is very selfless. People need more than a once a month pizza party or a rah bonus check to be able to consistently deliver amazing customer experiences because it's challenging and you're getting cut down all the time. Doesn't matter if, you have a headache or you're whatever, just your puppy peed in your shoe or whatever. The customer doesn't care. They don't even need to know. So the culture deck was created to be a drip irrigation, weekly leadership, small hits so that it raises people's understanding about how valuable they are to one another and to the business and to the customer. So the questions are designed with sometimes, each card there's 59, I think. So it's weekly. Each card on the front has a quote or a statistic that's designed to raise understanding and expectations and knowledge. On the back, you're right, because I was a teacher, there is a question that relates the front of the card to the people's experience. So my goal is to ruin everyone. Ruin you. Next time you go anywhere, you're just going to be ruined. You're like, oh, we could improve upon that. And it's very fun because I've heard from some business owners that they're like, we start each one of our weekly meetings with this. It takes 10 minutes. And one of the fun things that one of my most favorite comments was from a gentleman, Joe, and he said, it's kind of weird. Each week when we bring up the new card, they're talking about last week's card and what happened, what we talked about last week. And for me, I was doing a super happy dance. I'm like I wanted, in my mind, I was shaking his shoulders. I'm like, do you know what that means? That is gold. Your staff is thinking about your business during the week.
Yeah.
On their own.
Yeah.
Like that is such a powerful partner when your staff starts to treat your business like it's their own and they're coming up with ideas to improve your customer experience or your client experience. Golden. So I came up with the culture deck because I saw a need for content, for weekly content for leaders, just as a tool. It's in your back pocket. You just put out and have the discussion.
Very cool. I love that because it gets everybody involved and like at all levels of that buy-in of employees being part of the team. And I you showed me some of the cards and I like them that they're open-ended questions, like mostly so that it gets people thinking and creating some curiosity there, which is awesome.
Thanks. Thank you.
I love it. Well, congratulations on having a physical product as well. And definitely people can go and learn more about the Academy and also the products and then your consulting services as well. All of that they should be able to find on your website, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is, and it's Kaizen. Is that
yes?
Okay. So it's KAIZEN.zone. So people can go and check that out. And one last question for you. You did mention that you are into business books and you enjoy business books. So do you have a favorite business book that you'd like to share about?
Do I ever? I actually just reposted. I've got my top 10 favorite leadership books. I'm going to go with an oldie and I've got it on my shelf back there. We used to do it as a staff read. It set the bar. See if I can find it real quick. Oh, there it is, right over there. It's called Hug Your Customers. Let me grab it.
Oh,
it is an oldie, but goodie. It's one of my favorite ones. I read it years ago. You could see if you're on YouTube, I've got this baby is dog-eared. It's got all sorts of stuff. As a staff, we decided at the hotel, we would do a staff read. I went and bought a whole bunch of used books and then I gave them to my staff. And I said, I said, do you want me to pay you to do this? And they're like, no, which I was shocked and delighted about. I said, okay, well, we'll do, the first 3 chapters or whatever for the next meeting. And they came to the meeting and they were way past the first chapter because it's such an easy read. There's things in here that this guy does that I would never do. I was like, well, that's really another level. I wouldn't do that. But he's very inspiring. And so when we use this as an annual book read, so here you'll see what I'm showing her is a note from one of my staff members that says, thank you for all your help. And she put a little sticky note. The requirement when we read this was that you had to mark in it. You had to write in the notes or you had to write notes in the margins and you had to dog ear and you had to, because that makes people interact. Like that's a teaching trick, right? We're taught not to write in books and normally I don't, but this one was a tool. And so you can see, she can see on the video for those people listening, there's little marks in this book. There's one here that says, who are our top 100? That's written in green. And then right below it says good point, written by somebody else, so that staff was interacting with it. And it was just it's so much fun. So that I would say is probably my most
Hug your customers. What's the author's name? Jack Mitchell? Okay.
Jack Mitchell.
See that.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you for sharing. I've never heard of that book before. So it's always nice. I like to hear people's favorites.
It's an oldie.
So I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Samantha, thank you so much for being here. Besides your website, is there any other place that people can connect with you?
Probably LinkedIn is the best. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So find her on LinkedIn. I believe we are connected on LinkedIn, but we need to make sure that has happened. I think it has.
I think so too. Yeah.
Okay. But if you find me on LinkedIn, you'll be able to find Samantha, and it's Samantha Irwin at Kaizen, and you can look her up there. But thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate this. It's been a really fun conversation.
Oh, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Your questions are great. And I'm thinking, oh, who can I refer to her? Because, you've been a pleasure to interact with the whole time on my customer journey for you.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm going to be working on curating this podcast experience for everyone and for the listeners as well. So, all right. Well, Samantha, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Financial Clarity Podcast. Be sure to check out the show notes to learn more about today's episode and click subscribe on your favorite podcast app.